Good evening, viewers. Welcome to Shamu's Equal Access Talk Show on Zondex TV. This program is designed to celebrate individuals who are pushing boundaries and chasing their dreams. Tonight, we are in the company of Kudzie Mswaka, a trainee sommelier. Yes, we're drinking wine tonight. We're going to taste wine tonight. Kudzie, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Shamu.
Right, Kudzie, maybe let's start. What's the definition of a sommelier?
Sommelier is basically a wine guru, a wine genius, a person who knows all in detail about wine, from how it's made and how it's executed to the general populace and how it's enjoyed.
Right.
A sommelier is a person who guides people in all of that, and a sommelier is a person who also has a huge passion for food, because wine goes very well with food. So for you to be a sommelier, it takes a lot of food knowledge, a lot of food, being enthusiastic about food, being knowledgeable about food. So that's basically a sommelier. It's basically all about matching and pairing food and wine.
Right. How did you find yourself being a sommelier?
It was a long journey. I must say. I never thought at some point I'd be in this industry. I settled in Cape Town in 2011. I worked for an events company, which was basically corporate events and all of that. We used to do events as a waiter, that is.
Yeah.
I used to work as a waiter, and I used to travel a lot, going out there into the farmlands, into the wineries. I used to meet the winemakers themselves, and that sort of grew my interest in wine, because I wanted to know what wine is all about. And I grew a very deep interest in wine, and from there I started looking for more challenging jobs with regards to my wine industry. I looked for more jobs that would expose me to the wine industry, and I found myself in top-notch restaurants that were making a mark in South Africa. I worked there for a while, and eventually I found myself at the 12 Apostles, award-winning, perhaps the best hotel in Africa,
right.
Which is the 12 Apostles, and I happened to be the trainee sommelier there, and from there my dream has been living on.
Right. So how has been your training gradually fell into being a sommelier, like into knowing the wine itself?
Okay, so I must say it all started when I took part in the South African Wine Tasting Championships.
Was it a voluntary?
It was open to the public. It was open to the public, so I happened to be off on that day, and I chose to go for South African Wine Tasting Championships. I actually took 350 rand out of my own pocket to go pay for a ticket for that, and I took part. Basically, I took my palate to taste against South Africa's best. So that was South Africa's wine people, the winemakers themselves, the wine stewards, the wine sommeliers, qualified people who are known in the industry. And I took my palate to taste against them. And it's basically, you go through hundreds of wines, and you go through a blind tasting, and you have to pinpoint where it's from, where is it made, what grape varietal it is, and there's 10,000 of those. What vintage it is, everything. So everything you get right ends your mark, and that's your final score at the end of the day. So I happened to do incredibly well, and there were 10,000 contestants, and they were choosing top 10, which was Team South Africa that was going to compete in France, and I happened to be number 43. And top 500 was the known people, and I happened to be amongst the top 500.
At number 43.
At number 43.
Oh, a great achievement.
It was an awesome achievement, and I was a nobody. I wasn't known, and I'd never seen so many cameras in front of my face.
And now you're known.
I'd say so. Yes. It's a great achievement. Yeah. So I had a lot of cameras, a lot of media people asking me where it all came from, but I must say you can teach someone how wine is made, where it comes from, and all of that. All the academics that are involved in wine, you can teach someone. But there's one thing that you can't teach someone, which is the palate. The palate itself, the taste, the nose. You can't really teach someone. It's a God-given talent, and I think that I strongly believe that's what I have.
Okay.
And once you have that palate, you can always learn.
Interesting. So you have bagged some awards.
I have quite a few.
Yeah.
I've bagged a few Cape Wine Academy awards, being the top scorer in the country. I've bagged, actually, I'd say I bagged about five of those in different categories. I've also bagged SASA. SASA meaning South African Sommeliers Association. In the whole country, I'm one of the 2 people who qualified for SASA Level 2, Young Wine Sommeliers Association, Young Wine Sommeliers Award.
And tell us about the recent award where you actually cried, when you were receiving your award.
It was an emotional moment for me. Looking back at the journey that I've traveled, and coming from a wine growing region called Zimbabwe. We don't grow any wines there, but I find myself here, and I'm actually one of the best. I came out number 3 in South Africa. 3rd best junior wine sommelier in South Africa at the moment, and I bear that award with pride.
Wow! Congratulations!
Thank you.
Congratulations!
Thank you very much.
That's a very long journey that you have come from, and the passion that you have put into it, in educating yourself to know more about wines.
True.
It doesn't happen often.
True. It's been a very long journey.
One question: Africans, they don't really appreciate wines. How are you going to change that mentality? We more of beer lovers, like spirit lovers, but we're not more of wine lovers. Can you tell us why? Have you ever thought of yourself, why does your fellow brothers only want beer, not wine?
I, for one, as a beer drinker, a serious beer drinker, before, and it's been difficult to change from drinking beer to all of a sudden adjust to drinking wine. But I know for a fact we've got this perception that wine is associated with Europeans or people of
Europeans, yes.
Yeah, definitely. But it's only when you give it some time, when you start to learn more about it, open your heart to it, learn more about it, try to ask yourself questions about why people enjoy wine and how do they enjoy it.
Because they prefer to drink wine with dinner. I prefer my sweet soft drink, Coke, Fanta, Zoe, orange, those kind of things.
Which is a good example, but yeah. I'd also like to point out how people always approach wine with this semi-sweet kind of perception. People find semi-sweet wine to be much easy to drink and acceptable.
Yeah.
But semi-sweet, in actual fact, is a style of making wine. Semi-sweet is not a wine. Semi-sweet is a style of making wine. You get your semi-sweet, you get your dry, you get your super dry, extra dry, you get your, you know what I mean? There's lots of styles of making wine. But in a single grape varietal, you can get it in semi-sweet, in dry, in extra dry, and all of that.
Yeah.
So people often approach wine with a semi-sweet perspective, and they find it very easy to drink. And I think that's a stepping stone. That's a first step to approaching wine. If you really want to get yourself introduced to wine, start. Nothing wrong with drinking semi-sweet wine. Start off with that.
Okay. Before you get too excited about that, can we just show us how do you test the wine?
Of course.
How do you pour it, and how do you test it?
Of course.
Just quickly, yeah.
I'm just coming from a very intense testing right now. Okay. And this is one of the bottles I've got. It's a Simonsek Chardonnay. Okay. It's pronounced Simonsek.
Okay.
Simonsek, it's a Afrikaans stem. Simonsek is from Stellenbosch. It's a 2014 vintage. Yeah. You always need to point out the vintage. It's very important. So I will pour a taster for you. It's a screw cap. Nothing wrong with a screw cap. Often people associate screw caps with cheap wines, but it's a very expensive wine, even though it's a screw cap. So I'm going to pour you a little taster. Sure, you must obviously try and swallow it before. Why we do this is to just wake it up.
Okay.
We wake it up. It's been kept in the bottle. It's a 2014 vintage. It's been kept for at least 2 years, so it's quite idle. It's not awake.
Okay.
So we wake it up a bit, so you can nose it. Once you swallow it, it opens up.
Okay.
All those aromas, you start picking them up.
All right.
And once you swallow it, you start picking all the flavors. So I'll let you do the honors and tell me what you get.
Let's wake it up. Let's wake it up, and let's smell the aromas. Right.
Yeah.
Let's test it. Fruity.
Fruit indeed. Fruit
Yeah.
indeed. Fruit indeed.
Yeah.
What else did you pick?
Hey, you're putting me on the spot. It's difficult to describe wine.
No,
you
it
understand?
is. It is indeed.
Okay.
It is indeed. Do you think it's wooded or unwooded?
I think it's unwooded.
It is
It's a
actually.
little bit crispy.
It is actually wooded, so you can actually pick the wood on your palate.
Okay.
It is actually wooded.
When you say wooded, what do you mean?
It's been aged in oak barrels.
All right.
You get wines, normally white wines are aged in stainless steel barrels. No wood influences there, but it's this one specifically has been aged in wood barrels, and yeah.
Okay. Some people say you must shake it in your mouth before you swallow it.
True. It only
Why do you do that?
It only is a way of waking it up, getting more flavors in,
All right.
allowing more air, allowing more exposure to air, because it opens it up.
Okay. Interesting.
Thank you.
Kudzai, thank you very much.
Thank you
for
very
coming
much.
to the program.
It's a pleasure,
We hope
Mr.
to
Shamu.
see you again next year. No, very soon. #1 sommelier in South Africa.
Thank you very much, Mr.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. We gave you a little bit of a tip of how to test wine. Actually, now I'm going to go finish the whole bottle. Thank you for watching Shamu's Equal Access Talk Show on Zondex TV. Tune in for the next episode. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Great stuff, man.
Nice.
Nice.